Hi everyone, welcome to Influence Colorist. Today's video is what I colored in May. I actually got a lot done in May with no end of year school activities, left me with a lot of creative time. So the first book is To the Ends of the Earth. Let me unstack these over here. Okay, so the first book I'm going to show you is To the Ends of the Earth and Back Again by Good Wives and Warriors. And it is kind of a continuous book. It's 17 feet long, so when you open this book up, it's actually sideways here. So, and then it folds out continuously for 17 feet. So anyway, the first page I actually colored last month and completely forgot to show it in last month's video, so I will show it to you today. I've been using these Marco Raffine colored pencils in this book, and they seem to work really well with the paper. The colors are nice and vibrant. I know this brand, I think they have them in like the Ohuhu brand too. I think they're kind of the same pencil, just different label on them. And for reference, for color reference, I like to look at the Good Wives and Warriors Instagram pages and some of their artwork that they've done. They do beautiful artwork. They even have some books. But this book is great. It takes you kind of around the world to some familiar scenes. And then you get a lot of fantasy and mythology creatures. So this is the page I did for this month. So there's some pyramids, a pharaoh, and these I'm not sure. They look kind of Greek mythology maybe. Yeah, the background is already colored in. It starts out super light. This is it's hard to tell on camera. It's a really pale blue. And as it progresses, it gets to a darker blue. So it may still be hard to see on camera. But yeah, as you go through, it gets darker and darker. The paper is really nice. It's a thick paper. It's also one-sided, so if you wanted to use alcohol markers, you could. Just make sure you put something behind when you color. Okay, so there's that book. Alright, this one I also did last month, but I actually never showed the picture because I hadn't done the how-to video. So this is Johanna Basford's How to Draw Inky Wonderlands. And I used some of her flowers and designs to help create this kind of desert scenery. 3 jugs, or 3 bottles, with some cactus flowers. So yeah, even though none of her flowers show any desert flowers, I was able to find things that I could use in place of that. And for this I used just some black fine liners and color pencils. And staying with my drawing, I wanted to do some mandalas. I actually don't color a lot of mandalas, but I, for some reason, got a bug at me and wanted to just draw some. So I did some desert-looking ones, and then I actually scanned them in. And, well, first I drew them on graph paper, and then scanned them into the computer. Creating a file, that way I can kind of clean up some of the lines and then change the sizes if I wanted to. So I actually made some Mother's Day cards that I'll put up a picture on the screen for you. Sorry, my dog is barking at some birds here. But this one I did, that you can see the little skull bullhead here with some agave or yucca type of plants around here. This one you see some little quail in a circle with the big feathers going in a circle. And just some different plant that look kind of cactus-like, and some hummingbirds. And then my last one, a big flower center with a little barrel cactus and saguaro cactus surrounding it. And I thought these peaked kind of resembled mountains. So anyway, yeah, that was fun, and I made the cards for the moms in my life and sent those to them. Alright, next book is A Million Unicorns by Lulu, Mayo. And this is the page. It's like a big penguin boat with little penguins, polar bears, and rabbits. Kind of on here, you have some penguins diving off, and then maybe like a little town up here on the back with some unicorn mermaids swimming around, jellyfish. I used some color pencils for the majority of it, and then I did use some chalk pastels for the background. The pencils I've been using in this book are these Macaron 12 color watercolor pencils, and I'm not sure how to pronounce that, so I'll just leave that up for you guys to determine. I got these off of Amazon, very inexpensive, but what I liked about them is that they have all the really pretty pastel colors. So this I did not use as watercolor, but they are watercolor pencils, so you mix a little bit like with a water brush, and they work really well. Okay, next book is Pop Manga Mermaids and Other Sea Creatures. So I wanted to do some just quick pages in here. I really love the artwork in here, but I was worried that the hair and stuff would take me a really long time. So I wanted to try out just some simple monochromatic color schemes. So this is my first one that I did, just using Distress ink first, and then you just do like a base coat of Distress ink, and then color pencils for shading, and the background here is chalk pastels, and then some white Posca pen. And then the next one I did a video on. So same concept, I'm using a Distress ink first, which if you're a scrapbooker, you probably have some Stampin' Up! Ink pads or Close to My Heart ink pads. Just make sure they're water-based, and similar to like the Tim Holtz Distress inks, you can use the little sponge applicators. I have a little dauber. You just dab it on the ink pad, and then you can spread it around really nicely. So I used a couple different shades of pinks around first, just again an all over kind of base coat, and then I take the color pencils and do all the shading, and then at the end I'll take either a white gel pen, Posca pen, and just highlight some little areas. Sorry, there's a loud bird outside. But then I also, from the store scrapbooking.com, they probably also sell these in the craft stores too. These are the Tim Holtz collection layering stencil, and they're great if you want to add just a little bit of texture to your backgrounds. So you can see there's little like speckles all around. So I just laid this on here, used a little dauber and the ink pad, and dabbed some ink on there. You can probably also do marker or color pencil over it. I haven't tried that yet, but if you're looking for a certain shade, you can probably do something similar to that, or like an acrylic wash. All right, and I think, you know, even though you're not using a variety of colors, I think the pages still turn out really stunning, kind of very eye-catching when you're using just similar colors. So monochromatic color scheme. All right, and then just doing a quick page, you know, there's just days where maybe you only have a half hour or an hour to get some coloring done. So this book is really easy. I just pick a color scheme for the theme that I'm doing. So I did a Cars, Lightning McQueen colors, obviously I pulled, and then the blue I pulled from his friend Sally in the movie. And then the black and white checker is obviously supposed to represent a checkered flag. I love this book. Again, you can just repeat the same colors on some of these repeated shapes. There are some unique little shapes in here, like these little bars. I think they're just, you know, graphic artists are placing little shapes around. I don't know where they pull them from, the movies or anything. Sometimes they overlap weird, so you kind of have to figure out what's overlapped and what is, you know, not overlapped. If you want something, see, like right here, I would have thought this paint little splatter would have covered those bars, but you can kind of see through them. So you have to determine if you want those completely covered or if you want them see-through. So that's Disney Silhouettes by Hatchet Heroes. Okay, and then someone did a tag Morphia. I don't know which colorist started that tag, but I thought it was good. It allowed me to pull out some coloring, Kerby Rosanes coloring books that I haven't colored in a while. So the first one, Colormorphia. There's one page in here that I was just really anxious to do. I love orca whales, so anytime there's an orca whale, I love the page. But I was also nervous about doing the page because I didn't want to mess it up. I don't know if you guys ever feel that way. You just love the page so much in black and white that you're worried that adding color to it might ruin it. So sometimes I get worried, and that's why I tend to, like, if I see one already done, then I might try to copy it just so I can know what the end result is going to be. But anyway, I think it turned out pretty good. I took my cues from Lovella's coloring. I was inspired by her How I Color in Iceburg. That's Lovella's coloring YouTube channel, and she also has Instagram too. I loved her color combinations for her Iceburg page, this kind of dark tealish blue color, and then the icebergs were this kind of minty, lighter greens and blue teal colors. So underwater I wanted everything to be this teal color, and then the upper part of the iceberg is more blues and purples. So I wanted the sky to be a really solid color, so I've done a lot of gouache black backgrounds, and it always turns out really nice, like really nice and solid, not a lot of brush marks. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll try this darker kind of teal color gouache. And it really left, I don't know if it was the paper or what, but it really just left it really streaky. So I was kind of unhappy with that. So then I did the paint splatters in the background, and that kind of helped camouflage it a little bit more. So same with the water. I was wanting like a really soft, pretty watercolor look to it, you know, having it change colors and kind of overlapping. And again, it just didn't, as soon as I brushed the watercolor on, it just soaked it up really bad. It kind of went through, not horribly. So then I quickly had to figure out how to camouflage those brush strokes that didn't kind of complete. So I did take some ink tints with, you know, mixed with water, and then just did these little wave lines in the water. And I think that kind of helped camouflage a little bit. I got it translucent enough where I can kind of go over the polar bear iceberg here. Other than that, I just used some Prismacolors and some fine liner pens for these tiny little fish here. A lot of Posca and gel pen for these little foamy bubbles. Overall, it turned out pretty good. It just, my vision for it, it didn't turn out exactly how I pictured it to be. Okay, next one, Animorphia by Kerby Rosanes. This one I've had for a long time, and I work on it here and there, especially when I'm teaching a class and it's maybe a coloring day in class. There's not much instruction for me to do, so I'll sit and kind of work on a book. This one, I did the horns probably a year or two ago. I think I watched a YouTube video on these little roses, and then it was like one of those things where every time I had a chance to doodle, I was doodling these little roses. So when I got this book, I think I was like, oh, I'll just put some roses in there and then some other line art. I love the way the horns turned out, so I didn't color it for the longest time because I didn't want to take away from the horns. So I finally decided to color it. So I wanted to leave the doodles white to kind of help balance out with the horns. And then I used color pencil, probably Prismacolors, and just did the ram. And then I used chalk pastels for the border, or for the background. Alright, so sticking with the Kerby Rosanes theme, we're going to go to Worlds Within Worlds. And this one, I called it Leopards and Lanterns, but I think it's a cheetah, looking at pictures of cheetahs versus leopards. But I was mainly concentrating on the lanterns. I really wanted those to pop. So these are done with color pencil, Prismacolor pencils. And the cheetah is done with pan pastels. The background, again, what I had in my mind didn't exactly turn out how it got on paper. I wanted just a really dark blue, you know, no brush marks. I didn't want any pencil lines. I just wanted a nice solid blue. So I thought the best thing for that was the alcohol markers. These I just have the Hoo brand, but I really like the fine tip point on it. I thought that would be the easiest to get into all these tiny little areas and work around all these lanterns. I was not about to try to take a paintbrush. I mean, color pencil would do it fine, and you can get, you know, pretty solid with that. So anyway, it turned out pretty good. I like the color of the blue. It was, my marker just started to run out towards the end. So I couldn't do the blending of like a darker blue in the corners. And then I really like the way the grass and kind of cattails turned out. Just, I wanted it more of a silhouette look. So I used a dark blue, bluish purple. And then just where the light would be hitting it reflected some of this color in the plants. Alright, my last two books are, this is from watching T's World of Adult Coloring, and she inspired me to get this book, and I don't know why I didn't have this in my collection anyway. Desert Wonderland, A Serene Coloring Retreat by Reinert. I mean, I live in the desert, so, and I love the pictures. I think I have one of her other botanical ones on a wish list, but never this one. So in T's World of Adult Coloring, she was doing a flip through of her, she'd finished the entire book, which I'm like, how does one do that? Because, you know, I know how many hours it takes to go through, you know, one page. So I was really inspired by her colorings in here. So I had to order this book. So I just quickly did one picture in here. This one. and just kind of playing around with cool colors and a pop of warm color. So mostly cool colors, and then just this little plant, some golden colors. But yeah, I'm excited to do some more work in here. And then another book that I created the tag, the quarantine tag, 5 books that you would take in quarantine. And I ended up seeing the one that she did for that tag, and she showed this book, and I don't know if I'd never seen it before. You know, you think you watch all the coloring channels and you think you see all the books, and then you know, you just happen to rewatch something or watch it again, and it's like, oh, I didn't know that book existed. So anyway, I thought it was a cool book. It is Doodlers Anonymous Epic Coloring Book, and there are illustrations by 90 artists. So each page is very different, very unique styles, which I thought was fun. So the first page I did was this one. And again, I was kind of just playing around with warm and cool colors. I thought it looked like kind of a rush hour, people all, you know, scrambling to get to one place. Some of them are, you know, this one's reading a newspaper. Some of them look like they're in a hurry to get somewhere, but you know, most of them are kind of just in this line following along. And then you have this guy just really stood out. He's obviously in the middle and the tallest one, but you know, he has a different expression on his face. He's more excited. Maybe he's saying hi to someone. But so I thought I would do him in orange, just make him really stand out. The background, I wanted it to kind of look like just concrete cityscape, you know, something on a city wall. And I used that Speckles Tim Holtz layering stencil. I also got Neocolors and tried those for the first time, and I do need a lot more work because I'm not sure if I like working with them or not. Yeah, I think I just need more practice. The markers, I used I think they're Parku brush tip markers. They have a fine tip on one end and a brush on the other end. And they normally don't go through the page, and this is pretty thick paper. So, and I was using them as like a watercolor, so I take the brush end, brush it onto like a plastic sheet, and then use my water brush pen to fill it in with color. And it did go through to the other side. So I'll show you what I did with the other side here. So it was a typewriter. I should have taken a picture of the before, but this was all white. So it was all blank. It was just the typewriter. So you can see a little bit here how the brush markers went through, but there was a lot of like kind of splotchy colors around the back. So I went through some of my scrapbook paper and just looked for different shades of kind of typewriter font, cut some of those out, decoupaged around, and even found some like stickers and other little paper pieces that fit with this. So it made the page a little hard and more crinkly, but I think it's fine. But just something different if that ever happens to you, where maybe you had markers come onto the other page. Just another creative way you can do something to cover that up. Okay, that's it for today. Happy coloring. Thanks, guys.